Most of what we see from Ja in terms of highlights is him raising up, punching it, and that's very understandable. It's crazy to watch how athletic he is, so much so that sometimes there's really not much we can break down about it. But what we can break down is how crafty he is when he's not dunking it. It's always impressed me, and it has more and more this year. Although this may not be applicable to your game, most of his finishes can be. We can learn from them. So let's look at them under the microscope. First off, although Ja is known for using his jump to get up, on the majority of his finishes, he's actually using that to get out, to change direction, to jump forward, to extend out. We often forget that while basketball is a very vertical game, we can also use our jumps to create or extend the space from a defender, which is also very valuable. One way he uses this ability is what I would call a slice finish, where he's changing direction to extend out to his side as he slices through that defense. This can be tough because we're finishing out to the side instead of with our momentum oriented directly towards the basket like we always practice, but it's potentially very valuable for any player around the rim. Another way is a stretch finish where he's getting parallel to the sideline. This allows him to get the most space possible from the defender. For example, if he had stayed square here, chances are he's finishing shoulder to shoulder with that defender, but he rotates to extend out and as a result gets a body length of space. And often he'll even use a one-hand pickup here to really rotate out, which can be tough since you're rotating at a high speed with the ball in one hand, scooping it up into the finish, but it's something that he makes look easy. Also notice how in stride and fluid all of these look. He never has to break stride. It's just an effortless float from the sprint into the jump. This takes a ton of coordination on a lot of levels, but it's huge for being able to minimize the time it takes to get into the air, and therefore the time that the defender has to contest.
I'm gonna keep it real, I use DoorDash way too much to save time, which is why we've now partnered with DoorDash to make sure that you get on the wave as well. For a limited time, our viewers can get 50% off up to a $20 value, and $0 delivery fees when you download the DoorDash app and enter code BYANYMEANS.
His left hand with these 2-foot finishes is insane. Whether it's switching to the left, extending out with it, whatever you need, this opens up a ton for him, even if it's on the way down. And this ability to finish as his momentum is coming downwards in general plays a big part in all of these finishes. Because often, it's probably better to finish as you're on the way down, especially on these more acrobatic finishes. Whether it be to avoid a defender, finish rotating, or buy time to get the ball in a good position. If you're able to muster up the momentum on the ball to finish as you're falling like Ja here, that's big time. Next, on spins, he's elite at both options, either keeping that momentum going and extending towards the basket, or slowing himself down or coming to a stop, getting super in control, and then finishing from there. This keeps the defense guessing. And lastly, speaking of slowing down or stopping, his pivot game is lethal. It's primarily because defenders know how good he is with these in-stride 2-foot finishes, and he makes the stops look exactly like he's about to go up most times. Because of this, they're trying to get up in the air before him, and as a result are crazy sensitive to these fakes. Then his ability to work out of this pivot takes over, which is also super impressive. So hopefully you guys learned something that you can apply to your own game. A lot of the time when we watch the best players in the world, it's kind of from an admiration sense, which is definitely valid. I do it, we all do it, but at the same time, we can still watch players like Ja and add things into our own game, even if we're nowhere near as athletic as him. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at ByAnyMeansBasketball for a lot more like this. And as always, stay tuned.
Don't forget, that's code BYANYMEANS for 50% off up to a $20 value and $0 delivery fees with DoorDash. That's 50% off up to a $20 value and $0 delivery fees when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code BYANYMEANS. Subject to change, terms apply.